I walk through the shadow of death left to fear. This is a journey through the halls of hell.
Yes people, what is good? I am BA, back once again with another reaction in the Game of Thrones series. This is episode 5 of season 3 and it is called Kissed by Fire. Last episode. Daenerys just acquired herself the Unsullied army, Beric Dondarrion is about to fight the Hound. I just want to get into this episode, so yeah, let's do it. This is episode 5, Kissed by Fire. Let's check it out and see what it's saying to it. I rushed through that intro purposefully because I know sometimes I ramble on in my intros, but I just wanted to also mention the mutiny, the Night's Watch mutiny shit has happened at Craster's Keep. Horrible storyline, but yeah, that went down. Rest in peace to Lord Commander Mormont.
Cast your light upon us.
Lord of light, defend us!
Are we just going straight into the death match? Fucking yes.
For the night is dark and full of terror.
Still the most cowardly catchphrase in Westeros. Even the Tyrells have better catchphrases than you. So badass. I don't even know how it works. I don't know how his blood ignites a blade. Do not need to know the technique, the science behind it. It's just the coolest fucking thing of all time. And also, it's the perfect weapon to fight the Hound with. That'll be terrifying to the Hound. Fucking hell, Beric, you're being a bit wild with those swings next to your own people. I like the choreography of this fight, by the way. It's not pretty, but it's just a sword and shield power battle. Lots of big ferocious swings and blocks and kicks and shit, but that's the way medieval combat was. I wonder how much of this is the fire doing the work for Beric, or if he's actually good enough to go one-on-one with a Hound. Do you know what I'm saying? If he didn't have a flaming sword, would he have been able to even put the Hound down there? Damn. And to me, that moment shows that while the Hound is scared of fire, he is prepared to like let out a roar, a battle cry, and charge towards his greatest fear. Momentarily.
The god likes me more than your butcher's boy.
Situations like that are exactly why I'm an atheist, you know, to have a dude that murdered your friend cackling on the ground saying, "Where's your god now?" It's like, well, that is a fair point. Where is he now? Just watching this shit? Fuck you. And while I was talking there, it showed that Beric reanimated after the battle anyways. Again, it introduces a really interesting layer that has to be handled with care. I feel like Star Wars, for example, has ruined the impact of death due to like, okay, anyone can come back now, so death is kind of meaningless. So when you introduce a mechanic that allows people to come back to life from death, you have to use it very sparingly and with care, otherwise death becomes meaningless. And I think this show does it perfectly and uses it sparingly, and the moments it does use it, it works well.
Come steal it back.
Egret!
Does Jon not understand at this point? This is just how wildlings flirt.
I want you to see me. All of me.
Well, I appreciate your sentiment, and I feel like when it comes to unsung directors in the annals of human recorded history, the guy that did this episode seems to never get a mention. It's a very political world, Hollywood. Makes me sick every day.
You know nothing, Jon Snow.
Yeah, now who knows nothing, bitch. Still a terrible decision to give Egret a catchphrase as a character. Anybody that used a catchphrase in real life, I'd be like, did you just say the same thing as yesterday? Like, you know, just before you leave, you said waffles. And you just said it again. You try to make that a thing. Never come back to my house.
He came trading with his brothers. He had red hair like me, kissed by fire.
Also, it's nice that they found the one cave in this frozen hellscape with a beautiful little waterfall feature behind them.
Let's not go back. Let's stay here a while longer.
I tell you one thing this show does, it shows how quick most people are to just sling loyalty, honour, codes, agreements, etc. right out the fucking window. We can say for love, but it's really just for, you know, sex, isn't it?
Go in peace, Sandal Clegane. The Lord of Light isn't done with you yet.
Not by a long stretch. The Hound has a crazy story from here out. His story from here on out is literally winning the hearts and the minds of the fucking people.
I give you the Kingslayer.
Pick him up, Locke.
Okay, I speculated earlier if that little conversation that Jaime Lannister had with Locke was the spurrings of the Red Wedding, but it's obviously the meeting with him and Lord Bolton here.
Find suitable rooms for our guests. We'll speak later.
It's funny how Lord Bolton comes across as an actually decent guy, knowing how brutal he is.
And your sister is alive and well.
Lord Bolton knew exactly what he was doing with that dramatic pause. It's a stylistic choice we can all get behind.
I don't need my right hand to kill you.
Not actually sure if that's true, Jamie. Qyburn would probably do some sneaky alchemist shit.
I'll scream quite a bit of pain. I'll scream loudly.
Everybody needs a plan. Some of the close-up shots they do in this show with medical stuff, you know, like this scene and later... Fucking hell, sorry, just jabbed it in there while I was talking. Like this scene and later on when Sam's at the Citadel helping Jorah. Just medical brutality. I hate scenes like that.
As you well know, he's almost as generous to those who help us as he is unpleasant towards those who don't.
Cersei's one of the few people in the early seasons that I feel gets the better of Littlefinger on multiple occasions when they have conversations. As much as I hate her, it's good to see him getting belittled. No pun intended, Littlefinger.
Gods, boy, that's enough. We're not in a tavern.
Pardon me.
She comes in with a cutting sentence as her scene begins. Blink and you'll miss that shit.
I climbed all those steps to discuss financial matters.
It's the royal wedding.
Oh, they're starting to plan the royal wedding. Fucking yes. This storyline could not begin soon enough. I welcome the wedding between Joffrey and Margaery, and I hope they have a long and prosperous marriage.
1,800 mounted lancers, 2,000 in support. Provisions.
The Tyrells have a really impressive army. Westeros are actually lucky. They're relatively a pacifist house and will align with other houses, but never seemingly go to war themselves first.
Their distractions are likely to end with us being torn to pieces. A royal wedding is much safer.
It's a very good argument, but also now this being my third or fourth time watching this series, the fact that she's really driving home the need for a wedding is definitely great foreshadowing.
We'll pay for half the expenses and the celebrations will go on as planned. Is that sufficient?
Quite sufficient.
That is how badly she wants Joffrey dead. She's prepared to pay half of the fucking royal wedding expenses just to poison that little shit. That's dedication.
I'm going to stay on in Smith for the Brotherhood.
Have you lost your mind?
I forget that's what Gendry decides to do, so he becomes a smith for the Brotherhood without banners for a little bit. For some reason, like, the middle portion of Gendry's story is forever a blank spot in my memory.
These men are brothers. They've never had a family.
I guess all Gendry wants really is to be a part of something, you know, a family.
You wouldn't be my family. You'd be my lady.
It's a really sexist take, to be honest. You've known Arya longer than the Brotherhood without banners, yet you haven't struck up enough friendship to see her as family, but struck up enough of a bond with these strangers to identify them as it. Fuck you, Gendry.
Is this a rescue?
You wish it was a rescue, you little Lannister shit. Lord Karstark's about to cut your head off. It's alright, mate. You'll be back as another character.
I saw Harry die on the battlefield, and Torrent
Was strangled by the Kingslayer. They were his kin.
They were boys!
You can tell by how Lord Karstark's talking he already regrets what he's done, really. It was just a moment of rage.
You kill your enemies. Did your father not teach you that, boy?
Leave him.
He deserved that punch because it is definitely not as simple as that. When the two Stark children were still being held at King's Landing, it's not just as simple as kill Jaime Lannister because they would have just turned around and killed the Stark children. It's a really short-sighted, ignorant take by Karstark there.
You are no king of mine.
I genuinely don't see that as a mistake by Rob. He had to do it. He was forced into a horrible corner and had to do that, but I still don't see it as a bad move. Everyone's going to turn against you. If that guy can do that, talk to you like that, and just you have to swallow it, everyone's going to start speaking to you like that. You're not a leader.
You wanted to refuse your ransom altogether?
So why don't you?
We need the gold.
It's not even from a bad perspective. These guys need to get food and make weapons and shit. They need gold to work as a little unit, and, you know, Arya's a valuable asset. They're not going to treat her badly, but they are going to get their money for exchanging her. It's fair.
How many times have you brought me back?
It's the Lord of Light brings you back.
I guess Arya's like the perfect person to believe this. If you were to tell a jaded, cynical, broken by life 40-year-old man this shit, they'd be like, fuck off, it was some bullshit, you were lucky to survive. But Arya's at that age where she's learning the world as she's going, so she's like, people who worship the Red God can be resurrected, okay.
Could you bring back a man without a head?
Oh, that's one of the saddest questions in the whole show, isn't it? Poor Arya.
That's dark. He's at rest now.
I'll tell you what as well, one of the main changes from the book to the show was that after the Red Wedding, Catelyn is brought back as Lady Stoneheart. And I feel like that's maybe, first of all, playing the resurrection card one too many times. And also, I feel like it takes away from the impact of the Red Wedding. So that was a great decision by the showrunners, Dan and Dave, to change the lesser good decision displayed in the books. Oh, that's got to be a tough sentence for some of you guys to hear.
Lady, I'd like to come sooner.
It's an endearing quality when you see Stannis with his wife and still addressing her as my lady and stuff, because, you know, Red Witch stuff aside, he is such an honourable and noble dude. It does somewhat balance out his brutal approach to things. Not the irredeemable shit he goes on to do, but up to this point.
I have shamed you.
You're doing God's work.
Don't understand.
See, this is the benefit of being married to a religious extremist. If they believe God wants you to cheat on them, they will be all for it. It is so crazy what indoctrination can do to an individual. Them Mormon dudes had it good for a long time. Yeah, this says down here though that we can fuck whoever we want as well. Weird. Jesus never mentioned that in the original, but this version says it right here. Also says you have to be into anal and learn deep throat. Wow, this prophet was specific. And also, guys, it's kind of macabre to keep your failed fetuses in 1950s mad scientist jars. Just a heads up, like, visitors won't appreciate that.
You are a king.
I mean, at least change the fuses so the lava lamps light back up.
He hasn't come to visit me. He said he'd bring me back a present from the capital.
Oh man, the princess is such a sweet character. It is absolutely heartbreaking the moment she appears on screen if you're rewatching this show.
He made this for me.
I mean, there is not a bad bone in her body. She makes the best of a fucking shit life. Basically held like the old stories of a princess locked in a tower. That is her story, you know, and she's had this affliction which was healed, but people have judged her for her appearance on top of that. And then what fucking happens to her? In that one scenario, I need to actually ask George R.R. Martin, what the fuck? Even the Red Wedding, it's like, oh, that's brutal, but it's so well written and darkly unexpected drama. But what you do to her? Fuck you, mate. That's just cruel.
You're supposed to get me to King's Landing in one piece. Not going so well, is it?
Brienne had fucking nothing to do with you losing your hand. There was nothing she could do at the time.
How's the look? Seen it for 17 years and face after face.
That's kind of mad though, because so many people would just take one look at him and go, that's the guy that stabbed the fucking king in the back. Fuck that guy. Would be a weird stigma to have just walking around.
You love to watch people burn. With their skin blackened.
It would have been quite interesting to see a little show with the Mad King and a younger Jaime Lannister and that whole thing coming to a head. And also I feel on top of trying to prevent Brienne from being assaulted, this speech again sort of warms us to Jaime, because it is very sympathetic, isn't it? I mean, he killed the king to save the city, to save everyone, so he's actually a hero, treated like a villain. But then he had sex with his sister and pushed the kid out of a window, so you have to weigh that up into it is a weird salad that you make when putting all the ingredients in to the Jaime Lannister bowl.
At his back, promising to defend the city against the rebels.
I know we're meant to feel sorry for him right now, but it kind of looks like he's got a sock puppet. Then the Mad King said burn them all, didn't he, Mr. Snookums?
Yes, he did. Stand by while thousands of men, women and children burned alive. Would you have done it?
First of all, I don't know what makeup they've put around Jaime Lannister's eyes, but it literally looks like they've just dashed the actor with some bleach and then went, okay, add action, because he's got a very, like, puffy red look to his eyes, and that's coming from, you know, Nosferatu here.
He meant to band with the rest of us and rise again.
Second of all, not only is this winning us over, but it's also Brienne having a realisation, I think, that not all monsters in reality are the way that they are drawn in the pictures. People must have been really let down back in the day when they like got a picture of a fucking dragon, went out there with like spears, gang of 20 of them, and a fucking iguana crawls out of the bushes in front of them.
He judged me guilty the moment he set eyes on me.
Well, maybe he was a bit of a prophet, because you later went on to push his son out of a fucking window, Dr. Innocent.
Jaime.
Very good scene, and it instantly makes you see Jaime in a different light, I feel, because there's such a big difference between someone who has betrayed their king and stabbed him in the back, and like a dude who was in the middle of watching Hitler give the fucking go-ahead to flip the switch in the gas chambers and, you know, shooting him in the back of the head. It's completely two different scenarios. That guy is a hero. I always use Hitler as an example of like the most extreme evil in these videos. I'm aware of that. I apologise to all you Hitler fans out there. Not a big of a movement as it was in the 40s, let's be honest.
This word is Egon. Can you see A, E, and G together like that?
Oh man, and there's just nothing but goodness in her. Like this whole thought process. When you think about the reason human beings do things, sometimes if you follow the trail back, it leads to some sort of self-serving purpose. But I see absolutely none of that in any of her actions. She's just innocent and nice and good and wants her friend to be able to read to be better at his job for Stannis. Just a representation of purity that George R.R. Martin treats like fucking shit. But he also created her, so he can do what he wants with his creations, you know, technically. If he wants to fucking burn them alive and be a douche about it, okay, it's his decision.
Never occurred to me till the fighting was over. I was very nearly the first man knighted to piss on the king's boots.
It's actually an interesting thought. Surely in large-scale battles, some dudes have just been like, you know what, I might die anyway. I'm just gonna fucking go. Which means that at some point in history, someone has been killed by a pissing man. It's not about getting beheaded by a guy that shat himself. I like the introduction of Grey Worm's character for two reasons. First of all, it shows that Unsullied are not just robotic drones. And also it's the linking voice between Daenerys and the Unsullied. But more importantly, it shows that, you know, each one of these guys is a Grey Worm with a backstory and deeper thoughts. And none of them are probably as robotic as they first appear to be. Maybe one guy in the back row that got hit with a rock when he was young or something, just straight up following orders. But the rest of them, they have fucking thoughts, man. They wonder if the moon's an egg too.
He didn't want advice on how to govern from a man who'd fought for the Mad King. Can't say I minded much.
I'm absolutely desperate to see them make a prequel show focusing on a young Barristan Selby. I think it would be incredible. I've heard they're making a Dunk and Egg show, which is based on Sir Duncan the Tall, who fathered many children throughout Westeros, such as the Mountain and Hodor, and basically all the other Tall characters are his offspring. And then his squire, whose nickname is Egg, but it's actually Aegon Targaryen. I don't know anything about those books, but it sounds like a good premise, but I would also kill to see Barristan Selby in his like 30s or something, and the shit he did when he was at the height of his prowess with a sword.
You're just another exile. And I take my orders from the Queen.
Jorah's such a jealous bootlicker when you think about it. Had his fucking nose up while he delivered that dialogue and everything. He does not like this new, honourable, legendary swordsman getting real close to Daenerys instantaneously. And we all love Jorah, but he is coming across as very petty just now.
We're here. King's Landing.
You would expect someone to be so intelligent with medical knowledge to have a basic understanding of the primary holds in Westeros. Seems a bit strange that, but maybe she just put all her fucking XP into medicine and just never read anything again.
Can you do it?
I need men to replace the Karstarks who marched home.
Right, okay, so what I was hoping would happen did not happen. I had this whole scenario about him choosing a new leader and blah blah blah. Maybe they wouldn't just go home, but yeah, they all went home. Is that not breaking some sort of fucking 2,000 year loyalty agreement? If I was Rob, I would just go to the Karstarks now and take their hold off them.
And only one to let you go, because it will please me.
She is the fucking best, man. She is the only person that can control and manipulate Joffrey. Seriously, there isn't a single scene where he even thinks about seriously hurting Marjorie. Compare that to any other person he interacts with. She is an absolute master of controlling his strings, and it's just a character we've been crying out for since we met him, so that's why I gravitate towards her. She's like a saving grace as the one person who can actually keep this prick on a leash.
With the husbands?
At first you think, why is the director putting a random gay sex scene with the Flowers Knight and this other dude? I mean, we already know the Flowers Knight is gay, so was that just for the sake of having a sex scene in there or what? But in actuality, if you remember, that's the guy that ends up ratting him out to the Faith Militant. So that's just setting up the Faith Militant storyline in that one little scene.
Wanted a ship. Now I want a dozen.
That's quite a fitting coincidence, because I've always wanted to throw you into the fucking sea.
You want to go home, don't you?
Of course, more than anything.
Now, this is one moment that I cannot honestly remember what I thought of it the first time I watched it, but I feel like I was thinking, man, Littlefinger's a prick, but if he can genuinely get Sansa out of here, that's a good thing. No, I don't think I would have thought that watching this scene again, seeing these moments. He's already fucking creeping on her and doing all this other weird shit. His intentions clearly are not pure. Even then I was probably like, fuck Baelish.
Never mind that now, we have something important to discuss.
A master of coin. Saving money is important.
I like how you worded it like that, Tyrion. Literally it was Lady Olenna single-handedly, but yeah, take the credit. You did convince her after all.
That makes Sansa Stark the heir to Winterfell. And I am not about to hand her over to the Tyrells.
Wow, I never thought Tywin would be thinking so strategically about who Sansa marries still as to having the key to the north. Obviously his information's wrong, Bran and Rickon are both still alive and well, but it's interesting that he was thinking like this, because I don't remember this either.
Wonderful.
Yes, it is.
You can't mean it.
Oh shit, and this is where this storyline starts. Man, they actually have started 3 quite long-term storylines in this episode. I don't know how long the royal wedding is from this episode, actually. It might be this season, but they're definitely starting some big, significant storylines this episode, and they introduced Grey Worm. It's been quite a lot going on.
And if I refuse?
You wanted to be rewarded for your valor in battle.
How the fuck is any wedding against your will a reward, let alone to a fucking child, when you've got any sort of morality as a human being?
You should be thanking the gods for this. This is more than you deserve.
Oh, and Cersei's little smug face. Lena Headey, I think her name is, she's so good at playing Cersei. Every single spiteful glance and stare and smirk and shit, she just has this character down pat. Anytime, the last thing you want to see is like a smug smirk from Cersei at that moment. The camera will, 100% of the time, cut to her smugly smirking.
Rumours about you, once and for all.
Father, don't make me do it again, please.
Not another word.
And just when she thought she had the upper hand, now she has to marry Loras. But as we know, Cersei doesn't take nothing lying down, and this again starts a larger storyline off. Okay, and that was episode 5 of season 3 of Game of Thrones, Kissed by Fire, and I will be back in just a minute with my thoughts on that. So, Kissed by Fire, what did I think of that? I thought this was a brilliant episode, and there's actually a lot of new stuff going on this episode. We get to spend some time with Princess Shireen, and we get to see how sweet and lovable she is, you know, just trying to teach the Onion Knight how to read, etc. We get introduced to Grey Worm, which like I said is good for multiple reasons because it gives the Unsullied a sort of voice, a connecting point between Daenerys and them, which is human and not just robotic, and also shows that all of them are deep thinking dudes that had a rough traumatic childhood at the end of the day. And I guess it's making a point that, you know, even the most lethal killing machine that's been through a lot of hardship to be conditioned into that will still have the trauma of the hardship they went through to be conditioned into that. And then we got multiple things starting off the Faith Militant storyline this episode, showing the sex scene between Loras Tyrell and that other dude, and then Cersei being told that she is going to marry Loras, because obviously that ends up with Cersei giving the church authority along with the crown. We're not quite there yet, but that's the direction that storyline ends up heading in. And the scene with Littlefinger and Sansa, as I said, you just, at this point, she's been here 2 seasons. You just hope and pray every single time you see her on screen that she gets the fuck out of King's Landing, even if it's Littlefinger helping her. But of course, this not being my first time watching it, I think it would have actually been a smarter decision if she'd have stayed in King's Landing even after Joffrey was poisoned at the wedding, even if people thought she had something to do with it. In fact, I think people only think she didn't have something to do with it because she fled afterwards. Tyrion getting told he has to marry Sansa as well sparks off a whole bunch of drama for him, you know, with the awkwardness with Shae and just the fact that he has been put in this horrible position himself and his father's now putting pressure on him to be expected to take her to bed when she's a child. It's fucking disgusting. But all Tywin's thinking about is securing the North, because from his perception, you know, the other Stark boys are dead, Robb will soon be dead, and thus Sansa will give them the North. And that whole shit with the Karstarks was just fucking absolutely pointless what they did. I agree with Robb's response. They were just being stupid and emotional, killing 2 hostages. Robb had to do what he did, and the fact that the rest of the Karstark army just abandoned him after they had to kill their lord, I don't know, those guys seem like some oath-breaking bitches if you ask me. And yeah, we got the whole Brotherhood without banners Beric hound fight, and we got introduced to the fact that the Lord of Light can bring specific people back if they have a greater purpose, which is actually foreshadowing some of the most important plot points throughout the rest of the show. So yeah, it was a brilliant little scene, shows that there is something to the Lord of Light, you know, in comparison to all the other gods. That is an actual miracle. Resurrection is a miracle, so there's something going on with this entity, which appears to be different than all the other gods that operate in Westeros. And the famous cave scene happened with Jon and Ygritte. It's good to see them both actually just get a little bit of peace and happiness in such a messed up world. And you know, all joking aside, Ygritte is right. If they'd have just stayed being happy, chilling in a cave forever, it probably wouldn't have been so bad for them, you know, until they were murdered by the White Walkers, but up until that point would have been fun. But yeah, all in all, another brilliant episode, and I can't wait to see what happens next week. If you've liked this video, click like, subscribe to the channel to see more videos like this, ring the bell to be notified as to when they drop. If there's anything you want to talk about, comment down below, and share this around to anyone you think might appreciate it or want to watch these reactions along with us. My Patreon link is down in the description. If you become a patron, you get access to my blog, you get access to these reactions I put on YouTube a month and a half in advance, and you also get access to full-length versions of everything I react to. So consider becoming a patron, it helps me and my channel out so much, and until next time, I have been BA, peace.